In the previous chapters, we saw the PN junction, how it works, especially the reverse bias in reverse bias condition, and we saw its capacitance. In this lecture series, we'll see PN junction currents under various bias conditions, forward and reverse, as well as the breakdown voltages. So let's start with zero bias PN junction. This is just a recap of what we did last lecture. We have, let's say we have a P and N type junction. We saw that there will be a depletion region formed and a potential drop across the depletion region, which can be calculated. And we calculated this to be Vt ln Na by Na square, where Na is the doping concentration of the acceptors, Nd is the doping concentration of the donors, and Ni is the intrinsic carrier concentration in the silicon at that particular temperature. Now I'm just going to rewrite this as Vt ln Nd by Npo. What does Npo stand for? Npo is nothing but Na square by Na from this equation. Is nothing but the minority carrier concentration, the electron minority carrier concentration in the p-type material, and the zero I'm just adding now for the first time to show that this is at zero bias condition. So just rewriting this NPO from this equation, it turns out that it is Nd e power minus Vb by Vt. You can see it is relating now NPO and Nd. Similarly, the whole concentration in the N-type semiconductor at zero bias will be Na e power minus Vb by Vt. Okay. It's just a different way of writing the same equation here. Okay. But we are writing it for a specific reason. We'll see what it is in a moment. Right. So if you look back at this, the concentration distribution along the body, Na is the dopant concentration in the acceptor type in the p-type material, and NPO is the corresponding minority carrier electrons in the p-type. Similarly, Nd is the doping concentration of the donor, and PNO is the minority whole carrier concentration in the n-type, and the zero indicates zero bias. This will become a reference diagram for us as we go forward in the forward and reverse biases. Interestingly, from here we can see that the minority carrier concentration, the NP0 or PN0, okay, is a function of the majority carrier concentration on the other side. So electron on the P side is dependent on the dopant concentration of the electron concentration on the N side. Okay. Similarly, PNO is dependent on the whole concentration on the P-type side. Okay. This isn't too surprising because the thing that is hidden is on the VB here. Since we just rewrote the equation, typically you would expect that NPO and PNO just depend on the doping concentration of the majority carrier on its own side. Like NPO into Na is Ni square, and PNO into Nd is Ni square. That holds. It's just that we have written the equation in a slightly different form, right? Just to get it as a function of the um, Vb, which is the built-in potential, and the concentration on the other side, majority carrier concentration on the other side. So there's nothing new here, just rewriting the equation in a different form. Under this condition, zero bias, we also saw that J drift equal to J diffusion. That is, a drift current is equal to diffusion current. Okay. So this is just a kind of a small recap about the zero bias condition in the PN junction. So now let's take a look at what happens under forward bias PN junction. Right? So far we saw zero bias. We'll now forward bias the PN junction, which means we are going to take the P type a little bit higher than the N type through an external voltage source. Right? So we have this P-type, N-type junction out here, and we have the built-in potential. And now all we do is we apply a positive voltage to the P side related to the N side. And we want to see what happens to the junction, to the currents, everything, right? So because now we have actually applied a positive voltage in opposition to the built-in voltage, you can see that the VA is in the opposite direction of VB. Right? J drift becomes less than the J diffusion because the E field actually reduces. We are the inbuilt E field is now being opposed by an external E field. Hence, J drift actually reduces related to the diffusion current, which means the current has to flow. Right? So all that happens when you do this is NP, which we saw NP0 was ND e power minus VB by VT, is now replaced by NP equal to ND e power minus VB minus VA by VT. Since this VB is now opposed by VA, so effective field voltage drop is VB minus VA, so this equation holds. Except that we have not put a 0 here because not zero bias, it's at some bias, which is nothing but NPO e power VA by VT. All we did is ND e power minus VB by VT, I'm taking it out. Okay. And then e power VA by VT is remaining versus minus, and this minus will give me plus. ND e power minus VB by VT is nothing but NPO from the previous expression that we did. Okay. So NP now looks like the at any given potential VA is NPO, which is at zero bias, e power VA by VT. This is at the junction here. Similarly, Pn, you can substitute back the same thing, and I'll get Pno e power VA by VT. All that's saying is that the minority carrier concentration depends exponentially on the applied potential. Right? This is a small equation jugglery just to get this. And so if NPO is at zero bias, to apply a VA potential, the minority carrier concentration near the depletion region junction, right? Depletion region edges, sorry, not junction, the edges, depends on exponentially on the applied voltage, both for the NP and PN. A small equation jugglery to show that. Right? So effectively the base diagram that we used to see before, remember, it was Na, NPO, ND and PNO. Right? Whereas PNO now becomes like this. Right? Because the NP has now gone higher, PN has gone higher at the junction. Because it's given by NPO e power VA by VT. This NP is what is given here. This PN is what is given here. Okay? Since they have risen from their zero value, they come out like this. Okay. Diffusion of minority carriers sustain a steady current. So what happens here? Now just take a look at this junction, this position here. You got a carrier distribution, and there's no field here. Very little field is here, right? So there will be a diffusion current set up here. Okay? You have a minority carrier concentration because the minority carrier depends exponentially on the applied voltage VA, but far away it is going to be the same as NPO, where all the voltage has actually dropped only across this. Most of the voltage gets dropped across the depletion region. Okay? So since there's no change in voltage here, it will remain at NPO. Right? And same with on the whole side will be PNO. All the voltage drop is across this, so this PN at the boundary of the depletion region increases to PN, right? Which is given by PNO e power VA by VT. So there is a carrier gradient in the body of the semiconductor, both here and here. Right? And when this happens, and there is no electric field to oppose this here, right, there is going to be diffusion current. And the diffusion current is dominated by the minority carrier concentration gradient here. Right? And where does this minority carrier, as it flows supplied by, is supplied from the other side, through the depletion region. Right? This side has excess of electrons, so it will keep giving the electrons as the diffusion takes place. Right? Same way here, as the PN takes place, the Na, the holes here will be supplied here. Right? The electrons that flow from here actually get, which actually in this case it just flows here, actually gets recombined by the holes that this battery have to supply. Same way, that's why this gradient will come for you. And same way, this PN as it goes here gets combined with the electron that this guy supplies. Okay? So diffusion of magnetic carrier sustains a steady current. Diffusion in the of the magnetic carrier in each side sustains the magnetic carrier. Again repeating it, and the carriers themselves are supplied from the other side. Right? Minority carriers are injected from the other side, which on this side it is a majority carrier, but when they're injected here, they become minority carrier and they diffuse. So current is mainly carried by diffusion. Same way with the hole also. Current, this hole is injected into this and diffusing here. This diffusion is what constitutes the current. So in the forward bias condition, just take a look at what happens to the electric field. We've seen that before. So when the PN junction is formed, you have a depletion region, there is an electric field setup. Now when you bias it with a VA, the E field reduces. And when your E field also reduces, the depletion width also reduces. Depletion width actually is a function of the voltage. We've seen that before. It's a mild function of the voltage, so it does reduce. Though it's shown very dramatically, it's reducing a lot, but it just reduces somewhat. Okay. And the current actually, there is an electron current from the p-type. The battery pulls the electron, then supplies it on this side. That's what the work the battery does. The electron is the magnetic carrier here, so it diffuses here, so it goes out from here and goes through here. So if the electron is flowing this way, the current is going from p to n type, right? Because our convention has been current flowing in the opposite direction of the electron flow. Same way, the hole, there is a diffusion here, so the hole flows the other way around. Now you can see this hole flowing the, you can see the hole flowing the other way around, right? Because it was diffusing here, and then the battery pulls it and supplies it to the other side and goes across, right? Both of these actually constitute your total current. And if you see, notice both of them constitute the current in the same direction from the P to the N in the junction. Right? Hole, if it's going from P to N, the current is going from P to N. Electron going from N to P, current is going from P to N. So the effective current is actually flowing from P to N in the diode. Right? You can also see that the electron has some larger mobility than the hole. Just a representation of that. Okay? You can just see by the speeds. Right? The net current I is given by Is e power VA by Vt minus 1 at a given forward bias VA. Right? Where Is A times, where A is the cross section area, Q times Ni square, dN by NaLn plus dP NdLp, where these constants that are there, A is the cross section of the junction, dN and dP are the diffusivity of electrons and holes. We've seen that before, because it's a diffusion current, the same diffusion constants come. L and LP are new terms that we're seeing, are diffusion lengths of the electron and hole. Right? It is the average length it travels before it combines with an electron or a hole with a majority carrier. Right? You really don't have to remember all this. Right? It's just that remember that it is dependent on Ni square and the diffusion constants, right? As well as the doping constant. So Is is actually a pretty complex function. We'll give a temperature dependence and other things a bit later. But Is times E per VA minus Vt by 1 is the forward current when the forward bias. So the current is, as we saw in the previous fall, is Is e power minus Va minus Vt. We'll just minus 1. Let's just take a plot it for a minute. Let's plot current as a function of the voltage applied, the forward bias voltage applied. Since it's an exponential function, actually for quite some time it will be small, and then suddenly you'll start seeing the change very rapidly. You can actually see that Vt, let's say, is 26 millivolts, right? At 100 millivolts, for every 60 millivolts change in Vt, you'll see that the current actually changes by a decade. Right? For every 60 millivolts increase in Va, there will be a 10x increase in current. You can just substitute at 300 Kelvin. Vt is about 26 millivolts. You'll see that. It's just directly a function of this. Right? So for a 400 millivolts change, for example, it's about 7 times, right? You'll get 10 power 7 times increase in current. That's a huge current. Right? Even if Is was a small quantity, right? You'll start getting a current in the milliamps, even if it's a few nanoamperes, right? You'll start getting currents in the milliamps for even at 400 millivolts forward bias. Right? It's pretty sensitive function. It's a very sensitive. What happens to a diode current with temperature? We've seen that with voltage it is an exponential function. Right? The forward current I is Is e per V by Va by Vt minus 1. This we saw. Right? I'm just writing Vt as Kt by Q. So it's e per Qv by Kt minus 1. Right? Is itself is a function of temperature, a constant times T cube, e per minus the band gap voltage divided by Kb into T, where Kb is the Boltzmann's constant and T is the temperature in Kelvin. Right? Is is a very strong positive coefficient, even more than the exponent term. The exponent term actually tells it's negative, but this T cube actually kind of overrides it. Hence, the overall current has a positive temperature coefficient. So IS actually increases with temperature. So if IS increases temperature, if you increase the temperature, it's most likely that the current will have a positive temperature coefficient. Just to do a problem, assuming a silicon PN junction doped with Na equal to 2 into 10 power 16 centimeter cube and D is 4 into 10 power 16 centimeter cube. I've given you all these values, but I already substituted that into the IS. I've calculated 4.32 into 10 power minus 17 ampere at 300. See, this is an extraordinarily small quantity, right? Okay. But it's an ampere, right? Find the current at forward bias of 0 volt to 1 volt in steps of 100 milliwatt. Plot the same. This is just to understand the sensitivity. You start seeing a huge, since it's an exponential function, you start seeing that the current starts becoming large pretty rapidly, at least in the microamps and the milliamps region pretty rapidly. Okay. How much voltage increase is needed for doubling the current and 10x the current? This is just a relative scale for you to understand. We already saw 10x the current is for 60 millivolts. Just substitute and check it once, right? Find out how much it takes to do the doubling the current. Having seen now that the forward bias, under forward bias, the current is actually very sensitive. It's exponential dependence on the applied voltage. Let's see what happens under reverse bias. Same PN junction, right? We have the P, N, we have the depletion region. You go ahead and apply reverse bias. Reverse bias means the N is taken up more than the P. And we've seen this before when we did the capacitance, right? Electrons are pulled from this side, the depletion region widens, right? The drift current actually becomes larger than the diffusion current because you have aided the inbuilt voltage or inbuilt field, because the VR, the applied external bias, is in the same direction as the bias caused by the built-in field, right? So the drift current actually becomes larger than the diffusion current. Right? So there will be a small amount of current, whereas a small amount. You just have to rewrite NP is NPO e power minus, this time it is minus VR by VT, and PN is PNO e power minus VR by VT. Right? This minus sign comes because the built-in potential now becomes VB plus VR, and there is overall my negative sign in the terms that we saw before, so that minus sign is retained. You can just substitute and get this very easily. Right? So if I now plot the concentration diffusion of the minority and majority carriers in the body, this is how it will look. Because it is e power minus VR by VT, it will go down to 0 or a smaller value at the depletion region boundaries. Right? So the minority carriers actually reduce. And it can reduce at best to 0. Remember, in the exponential case, it could keep on increasing. So it can have 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, 1000 times increase. But here it can at best go down to 0. So it will go only 1x lower than this. But increasing, it could go 1000x very easily. Right? So you can think of that in the forward bias, where the diffusion currents were can be thousands of magnitude larger than this guy. Because this guy NPO can go at best to NP can at best go down to 0. When it goes down to 0, the difference here is just NPO minus 0, which is NPO. Whereas in the forward bias, remember, it could go up to 1000 times larger. So the diffusion current slopes are much larger in the forward bias. Right? So there is still diffusion here, and its diffusion will cause the current here. The drift current is larger than the diffusion current because what it will just do is it just pushes the whatever comes here, just pushes it onto the other side. The current you can see will be in the opposite direction now. The electrons actually goes this way now, swept across in this direction. So current is flowing this way. Right? Similarly, hole will flow this way, swept across the junction here, and then goes this way, which means the current is from the N side to the P side, which is to be expected because we are putting a voltage source from the N side to the P side, and it has some positive resistance, not a negative resistance. Right? So the majority carriers are now extracted from the bulk, right, and then given to the other side. Minority carriers, so I said minority carriers are extracted from the bulk here and given to the other side. Right? Whereas there it was injected from the other side, majority side, to the minority side. So here it is X because this has to supply the magnetic carrier which goes down here because of the diffusion here. Right? It is not this slope which is giving that. It is this slope which is causing the current to flow this side. So under reverse junction, the current has the same form except instead of plus VA is minus VR by VT minus 1. Right? I equal to IS e power minus VR minus VT minus 1. And if you plot it, you'll see that the current actually tends to saturate very quickly because this term will go down to a small value, actually almost go down to 0 for even for VR, about 100 or 200 millivolts away. It will be much smaller than minus 1, so it will become minus IS. So this tends to substitute at minus IS. Okay. And this is just an exponential term here. If the same term as VR becomes other way positive, you saw that it was an exponential dependence. Okay. So now if I draw the full IV characteristics of a diode, in the forward bias, we saw it is exponential. The current increases exponential compared to the applied voltage. Under reverse bias, we saw that it saturates out very quickly, right, and remains constant. And this value is the IS. I've shown it exaggerated because otherwise you won't be able to see it, right? So it is IS here. It's a very small quantity that flows. Okay. Now, in the previous video, we saw that there are two breakdowns, Zener and avalanche breakdown. So if you keep increasing the reverse bias, at some point you're going to get an avalanche breakdown. Right? We saw what an avalanche breakdown is. So if you keep increasing this bias, it will break down at this point. And this has got the breakdown voltage here. Okay? This happens for lightly doped PN junctions. If the PN diode is heavily doped, then you're going to get a Zener breakdown. So instead of an avalanche breakdown, even before that happens, there's going to be a Zener breakdown. And Zeners are very good references because the breakdown voltage, the current is actually very sharp related to the voltage. The voltage can't change too much. The current dramatically increases. Right? So far we have seen the PN diode's full current characteristics. Let's just take a look at its electrical circuit representation as well as some simplification so that circuit design becomes a bit easier. The electrical symbol of a diode is this, a triangle followed by a line. The triangle represents the P side and the line represents the N side. It's simple. This is just a diode symbol which is used in electrical schematics. Okay. The current goes from the P side to the N side. There is a reverse small current going from the N side to P side that we have seen before. But fundamentally, the larger current happens only in the forward bias and happens from the P side to the N side. That's why in most practical circuits, we'll assume that the current flows only from the P side to N side. And it blocks the current in the reverse direction. So just to make that assumption into a graph, we saw that the current in the negative voltage when it's reverse bias actually was very small until about some voltage actually it was pretty small. So we'll approximate that with almost zero current. That means the reverse current for sure is zero, but also in the forward bias when the voltage is actually small, even though it's exponentially increasing, the current is actually small compared to when the diode is fully turned on. Okay? So we'll approximate that to 0. And when the diode is turned on, it does the full exponential curve. This voltage typically is called the cut-in voltage. It can be anywhere between 300 to 400 or 250 millivolts. There is no set single point where you can take the V cut in. It's not as if the current was exactly 0 and then started here, right? It was always there. Some amount minus IS was there, then went to 0 here, slowly increasing, going across this an exponential waveform. This voltage is the arbitrary selection. It's called the cut-in voltage. You can choose 300 millivolts, 400 millivolts. You'll see later that it isn't so much of a problem. Of course, computer simulations will take the exact equations and solve it. This actually helps you doing hand calculations a lot easier. So just to reiterate, current only flows only in the one direction, that is from P to N. These are all our circuit assumptions. Current flows only after cut-in voltage, which is approximately but fairly a good approximation as far as circuit design is concerned, and reverse current is fully blocked.
Since the reverse current is blocked and the current flows only in one direction, the forward direction, we say it acts as a rectifier. Rectifier acts, lets the current go in one direction but blocks the other direction. Okay? The symbol you can see is also like that. It is letting the current flow in this direction but blocking in the reverse direction. It's like a gate put here. So current can't go from this side to this side.
Let's do a problem. Assume V cut in for the diode is about 300 millivolts. So this diode has a 300 millivolts cut in. Okay. What is the drop across the diode when the currents are, and the current when Vx is 2 volts, 1 volt and minus 1 volt. So 2 volts and 1 volts are correct. They are forward biased. Okay. And when it's minus 1 volt, it is reverse biased. Okay. So just find out what is the current. Of course, they are in series, so the current through R1 and D1 are same. So you find out the current through the series element and find the drop Vd. Why is the current not as large as in the previous problem under forward bias condition? Okay. What is the role of the resistor to play in this circuit? Think about this. Simple circuit problem, but just think about it, right? Because in the previous problem, we just took a diode and applied a voltage across it. Now we put a resistor in series with it. Okay. In summary, forward bias junctions, PN junctions carry a large current. Of course, when they're biased, that's why it's called forward bias. The current has an exponential dependence on the forward bias voltage. The current has a positive temperature coefficient. That means the temperature increases, the current increases. Reverse bias current is small related to the forward bias current. Okay? It's not exactly zero, but it is small. We can approximate it to zero in circuit design hand calculation.